Good morning. Welcome to Animation 1, Day 2 out of Week 2. What we're doing today is that we've done mannequin drawings. We've done a 1-second walk cycle at either 24 or 30 seconds. And today what we're going to do is that we're going to finish the project. So what the project does is this. We're going to take the 1-second walk cycle that you have created, and then take 30 instances of it, edit them together using Premiere, put a title on the beginning and on the end, export it, and this will be what you submit. For reference, tomorrow, one thing that we will do is that we will begin the ball bounce exercise. Because of the amount of time that we have, we usually do 3 balls in 3 different programs and then green screened over a background. In this case, what we'll do is that we will really focus on getting the squash and stretch and the physics simulation proper on one ball using Photoshop. Get that into Premiere and then get that out. So hopefully we can do that within about 4 days. So let's get started. This is Premiere. This is, in my opinion, Adobe's best video editing software. You can video edit in After Effects, but there's just a little bit more to do with it, like creating compositions as clips and all that. But Premiere is very straightforward, and I hope that you enjoy working with it. So what I've done here is that I think it's either 2018 or 2019. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to make a new project, and I'm going to call it 30-second walk cycle. So, all right. And actually, the location that I'm going to put it in, and there's a very specific reason for this, is that I really recommend that for any project, keep everything in one folder. Because of the fact that if you move things around or if you have something on a flash drive, remember that many Adobe packages do not, when you save them, what they do is that they point to external files. What does this mean? In other words, what happens is that when you load like a Premiere file, what it does is it remembers the location of all the video clips that you put into your project. And while that's great to keep your file size down, that means, and also consider if you're doing like a movie project, it's really, not the best idea to have a 15, 20 gigabyte file. Although we have that case in things like Unreal Engine when we do game design. But if you move something, Premiere gets really confused, and you'll have this yellow screen says media not found, and you have to go find it and relink it. So it's all linked. So make a folder, put that in there. I've already made a folder called walkcycle final. I have my walkcycle, which by the way has a problem, and I'll show you how to fix it. And then don't worry so much about the renderer, and I think that we are fine. So this is the work area. The classic work area consists of 4 spaces. This is called the timeline, and this is where you put all your clips and you do your editing. And this shows where what the playhead position is in the project. By the way, remember when you put your cursor over something, you always have a tooltip, which is great. So, and by the way, this is the same as this, and this is in out duration, but actually it's the duration of the project. This here has several pieces, which also are reflected up here to some extent, but in this case, we use this primarily as the to show where our clips are. And then up here we have several sections here. These are our sources. These are effect controls, which we'll look at here in just a moment. The audio clip mixer, which we're not going to do much until future projects. Metadata, I've never really used it. So, and these are different workspaces. These are color editing, special effects, audio, graphics, various libraries, and you can see that these are just the different workspaces. This is something that Adobe started doing a couple years ago, and that was basically having different configurations to help you work in a way that's more comfortable for you. So, and down here, this is your toolbar. This is the direct selection tool. I don't use this track select forward tool very much. Ripple edit tool. Basically, if you edit something and it modifies the timing of the composition, it will go and adjust the rest of the composition. I don't use this much. The razor tool, we will use this. This basically allows you to cut your footage. Pen tool, I know it's all your favorite, but guess what? You can make shapes like Illustrator in Premiere. And a pan tool, it's a pan tool. You can move your composition around a bit, and then the text tool. So the first thing that we're going to do is that the other thing that we also have to do, so listening point, create a sequence. So what we have to do is we have to go and we have to create a new sequence. So a project can have multiple sequences. A sequence is a composition that has a series of frames. So in my case, there are all these presets. Come on, voila. All right. So this is really great in some cases, but it can be confusing. The The problem with working with me is the fact that I'm not always that professional. I do what a lot of people in studios do. I just do what works. And I found in this this setting for AVCHD, I found this. I'm going to be doing 30 frames a second. So I've got something that does 30 frames a second. Sometime I'll tell you about what this 29.97 is. But remember again, it's 30 frames a second, 1920 by 1080. If you're doing 24, use this 24. Not a problem. So it's okay. So see, now we have a sequence. It has tools. We can tell what the timing is. You can, if you want to make sure that something doesn't move or isn't off or on, you can lock. In this V1, it's video. It's a video track. Here's an audio track. Well, I've got 6 audio tracks, and I'm not even going to use audio. And then how many videos do I have? I've got 3 video tracks. I was doing some complex stuff, I think, earlier. And just trying to think here is if there's anything that, in special situations, sometimes I'll use these things. The other things that you can do that I'm not going to talk about so much is that you can use sequences like video clips, which is actually really incredibly cool. So you can make an entire sequence. You can save the sequence. You can make another sequence, and then you can take like the scene that you'd made and you can drop it in like a video clip. It's really kind of awesome. So, but I'm not going to confuse you with trying to do compositions within compositions, which, by the way, is something that you also do a lot of in After Effects. I just wanted to tell you that that happens. The audio clip mixer came up. We're not using that. Effect controls. Okay. Sources, no clips. We don't have any clips in here. And the only other thing I'm going to show you something here is that I'm going to show you that there are all of these clips that you can, I mean, there are all these effects that you can do. And a lot of these things are like Photoshop. You can turn things black and white. You can do, and we'll use this keying in the next in the next one. I just wanted to show you this just so you know where it is. And you can do things like brightness and contrast. You know, it's a lot of these things are similar to what you're used to, but they are in a different place. So, what we're going to do is this. I'm going to bring in the clip. And then we'll take a look at it. And documents. Let's see here, stupid ball bounce. Let's see here, walkcycle project file. That's it. Okay. See here, you get here's the project I did yesterday. I showed you. By the way, some of you were saying, "Oh, Professor, I'm new at this. You know, I'm having trouble." You know what? Guess how long I've been using the video editing mode in Photoshop? About 2 weeks. So, and yes, it looked like I've been using it for 30 years, but I have been doing digital media for 30 years, so I have a sensibility. So don't worry about it. I'm just saying, pardon me, is that sometimes being new at something I kind of roll my eyes at you. So notice here that here's my clip. And notice that it says 5 seconds. That doesn't work. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to move the play. That's interesting. I'll keep the existing settings. And let's just take a look at it, shall we? Okay. But notice I've got all this white. Okay, there are a couple things that we'll do. But we know that this is in here. All right. So what we've done is that we've created a project. We brought our clip in. It doesn't quite fit perfectly, but I'm not going to worry about that so much right at the moment. So remember something that I said about titling? Well, we're going to do that now. You're going to put a title in the beginning. You're going to put your name, project, ID, and that'll be fine. I have also made sure and not set some other things up properly so that we can, I can tell you some other things. So there's a couple ways you can make a title. You can do what they call a legacy title. Legacy means the old way of doing things. I really kind of prefer doing this because I've done it for a long time. All this other stuff, great. You can also bring in a Photoshop file. I wouldn't recommend that right now because I think what's interesting is that many students in these classes, I'll teach one thing and they just decide to go off and try to do their own thing. Try to do what I'm asking just the first time and then go off and do things, as opposed to saying, I'll just figure this out. Stay with me on these things. So here's a legacy title. This is proper, and I'm going to say this is called the opening title. All right. And you notice that here we have the frame. Oh, by the way, this is all TV stuff, by the way. This is, if we were doing for TV, this would be like the outside of the, this would be like the plastic bezel on your TV, and this is what is called the safe frame. A lot of this just because some TVs are different, and so we just sort of tend to stay inside there. Okay, the other thing about this is that I have this as white. Of course, this is going to be on black. A lot of things just like Photoshop. By the way, I'm not going to talk about this vertical type or anything like this yet, but there's a lot of tools here. This is actually kind of cool. You can do a lot of stuff. Okay, notice here that I have a lot of weird fonts, and I just happen to use a certain type style called Atkinson Hyperlegible, which is available from the Braille Foundation. Because I do this because I'm an advocate for the blind, and that Atkinson Hyperlegible is made by it was made for the Braille Foundation, which of course Braille type. This is a type style that is specifically made for those with impaired vision. I think that it's really interesting that we as animators and designers should consider as wide an audience as we can and be as include as many people in the viewing of our work. So I always use Atkinson Hyperlegible in all my work. If you want a link, actually I'll put a link up in the learning resources. So I'm going to say animation 1, it says here, AAD, let's see, yep. That's Abigail. Let me take that down to Atkinson. Okay. Abigail, why didn't that work? All right, sorry. Just because I don't want to mess with it, I'll just use Arial. That's really strange. Anyway, I'm just gonna go back and fix it. I'm gonna get fancy. Okay. There we go. Okay, and you can see up here. You have your center. You know, your alignment. So you have that as center alignment. Take the bold off. Center it up. And I'll just do a quick save. Command S, and that is it. So this is actually pretty cool. This is good. So this is 4 seconds, 29 frames. For some of you, it may come up and say 002. Let me show you something. I'm going to hold down Control. And here is speed and duration. And what you can do is you can change the speed if you want, or the duration. Actually, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to make this 3 seconds. And actually, I'm going to take it out and take it out of here. Bring this back in here, and you can see it's shorter. It's fine. And then here's the time slider, just like we were using in Photoshop. The great thing about Adobe is the fact that the interface is very similar to whatever we're going to do. So, notice what's happening. By the way, you want to see something fancy? Sure you do. Okay. I'm just going to go over here to Effects, and I'm going to confuse you for a moment. I'm just going to show you a video transition, and dissolve means fade from one to the other. So look at this. Additive dissolve, cross dissolve. I say one. They both do a lot of the same things. But watch what happens. Just fades in now. Right? Okay. That's great. But guess what? I've got a problem. Got a big, well, I've got lots of problems. Everybody knows that. But not the problem you think. Notice that I have all this white. So there's two ways we can do this. We can literally just grab the right hand side and then we can just bring it in like this and just shorten it. Right? And that does that. Or, so the interesting thing is that this is what they call non-destructive. Because guess what? If there's something I need to extend it a little bit, I can do that. And oh, by the way, with these effects, I can set the transition duration and I'll make it 15 frames. So mainly just because of the fact that, you know, it's almost a second. I mean, that's almost a whole walk cycle. That's kind of crazy. So, okay. The thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to zoom in on this really, really hard. And see, there we go. So that is that. And I could use the razor tool and see how it just snaps. I could just put it in there, hit delete, and then it's all clean, it's all nice. So you're saying, Professor, but guess what? We've only got 1 second and your title. You know what to do. Come on, you just copy and paste. It's not a big deal. So what you do is you move the playhead out just a little bit. And you're going to like what I'm going to do. Because remember, how do you solve a lot of these things when you have to do a lot of things? You use the power of 2. You do 2, and then you copy that 2, and then you have 4, and then you copy the 4, and then you copy and paste that, and then you have 8, and then 16, and you know it's great. So watch this. So whatever you have, there's your clip. And by the way, just for reference, if your clip is 2 things. If your clip is the wrong size, you can come in here and you can scrub the scale. Don't worry about what these little stopwatches are. I'll just say, look, see, you can do that. You can rotate it. And that also gets you ready for After Effects. But we're fine so far. Because After Effects is all about these, what they call parameters and what they call keyframing. And I've got 10 minutes to finish this, to show you when class actually starts. So I'm going to move my playhead here, because when you copy and paste anything, if you paste something, it always pastes at the position of this line, your playhead. Okay? So I've selected this image. I mean this here. By the way, I'm going back to the project just so I know what I'm doing. Oops. I'll select this clip, and then see, And see, it's all edited. And I just put it back and it snaps into place. And I just marquee select, control paste, copy paste, snap that back in place. And guess what? It's all selected. I snap that back in place. And I just let that snap in place. This is crazy, right? So now we have 16. And then I'll tell you what I'm going to do is that I'm just, we've got 16 of these. We need 30. I'm going to have one extra or two extra. See, it shows that we have 35 seconds. So I'm just going to marquee select everything. By the way, I will check you to see that you do 30 of these. Yes, I am that picky. So, all right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Oh, this could be hard for me. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. 30, and of course this makes perfect sense because 16 times 2 is 32. So that's it. And there we go. Okay, we're done with that. Guess what? Let's just take a quick look at it. And it's okay. I have a little glitch, but it's not bad. Right? All right. So at the end, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take this opening title, I'm going to copy and paste it, and I'm just going to call it end title. Why? Because I'm just going to say it's the end, and thanks for watching. Okay. And then, thanks for watching. You know, we're always want to try to be professional, right? I try to be, I'm not always, but okay. And that's great. That's 3 seconds. And let's also get fancy schmancy and put those effects in. Put that dissolve in. And you can put that in at the end. And look at that, that's great. And so, and actually I'll put a cross dissolve in the beginning. So watch. By the way, if you want, you can put a piece of sound in it if you want. And there you go. And it'll be 30 seconds. And you know what? This is amazing. 3 minutes before class. Look at that. That's gorgeous. Okay. So I want to output this. If I can do it in 3 minutes. So one thing that you have to do, you have to select the sequence, or it isn't going to work. This is something that was new about 5 years ago. You used to be able to not select the sequence and it'd be fine, but you have to select the sequence. And everything is all right. So what you do is then we export. Export media. And I get the ball going a little bit. So, so what happens is that you can see this is 36 seconds. There's some formats like, all right, so H.264 gives you what they call an MP4. It's like JPEG for video. It gives a really nice compression, and it works out really nice. So output name. We got to figure this out, right? So we're going to document, and I'm going to say walkcycle final, and I'm going to put it down in my directory, and I'm going to call this AAD376 P1 3 Patrick. I'm going to say crazy old Patrick. Don't do this. And then Z. You know faculty get Z's, right? So, and then, yeah. And then the thing is that don't type in MP4. It'll do the MP4. So you're fine. Okay. And then I think what this does, it will yep. It'll go through and do the render engine. If you use After Effects, you will bring up something called Adobe Media Encoder, which, by the way, is super awesome. If you haven't downloaded it, download it, and get it on your machine. When you're rendering stuff, it helps out a lot, especially in After Effects. What it does is that it's a rendering engine, the media encoder, it's a rendering engine. So it will take things like your After Effects file, it'll just sit there and it'll just chew on it, and it'll make the video for you. And then what happens is then it doesn't, when you're doing After Effects, your After Effects isn't tied up, your machine isn't tied up, which is awesome. So, and then you can do things on your own. So, by the way, one thing I'm going to do is that I'll also zip this up. I'll put this out so you can see how this works. And then let's just take a look at the project. And, oh man, I do all this stuff. And see there we go. And it's 9 o'clock. But by the way, when we do the ball bounce starting tomorrow, what will happen is that I will also tell you something how to make this smoother. And you're going to say, what? There is another trick? I said, yep, there's another trick. but that's okay. And there we go. So guess what? Your project's done. Submit, get an A, thank yourself, and then we'll do the next one, okay? You folks are awesome. What I'm going to do